Early morning. Let's answer a meditation question from social media and then meditate. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi. This is the Lama you are looking for. This morning, we could chant and... we won't chant. This morning, we could contemplate and meditate and enjoy a lesson or two. But first, if you love Star Wars... Whoops, that is the wrong bit. Let's go fix that real quick. Don't I feel like a silly head? Let's see. Oh, no, that's not, I don't fix that over there. Fix that over here. There we go. Boom, boom. Out goes the lights. Okay. That's much better. Whew. All professional. All the time. If you love Star Wars and you wish to meditate as transformatively as Obi-Wan Kenobi upon the toasty sands of Tatooine, be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. If at any point during this morning's live stream you have a question about Buddhist contemplation or meditation or philosophy, there's no need to be bashful. Simply type your question in great detail in the chat window. So, about an hour ago, Zal, forgive me if I butchered your name, asked a really good question. This is my strategy for meditating. What do you think about it? Hello, folks. Hope you're doing great. I'm in the midst of a mental crisis, so I need to meditate and possibly at 33 years old build the habit for good. My strategy would be meditating 15 minutes, then 5 minutes, rest again, then 15 minutes, then 5 again, until I get to an hour. Basically, it's the Pomodoro tech. What you think, guys? Okay, so number one, your spiritual enthusiasm is beautiful to see. Great job with that. I'm sorry you're going through a crisis. I'm going to deal with that first. If you're going through a mental health crisis, do you have the help of a really sharp, really on-the-ball psychiatrist? One who not only has an MD and has done a psychiatric internship, but is enthusiastically exposes themselves to the latest peer-reviewed studies exploring the overlapping Venn diagram between psychiatric symptoms and physiological causes, especially those moderated by lifestyle choices. Things like gut dysbiosis and systemic inflammation have a huge effect on our mental health. And if we just take pills or try to meditate while ignoring the physical health issues driving our lack of mental resiliency, we will be performing an exercise in futility. Now you might say, wait, my mental health crisis is because of external events. Those may very well be triggers, but time and again, people presenting with legitimate psychiatric issues have resolved them in a week or less without talk therapy. Now, does that mean that we are not affected by our circumstance? Of course we're affected by our circumstance. But the question is the wind blowing against a cinder block or is it blowing against a house of cards? The psychological resiliency crafted by our physical well-being has a huge effect on our mental health. So if you do not have a great psychiatrist at this moment, scroll down in the description area below the video under the heading of psychiatry. Second thought, I'll just demonstrate that real quick. I think that would be the most empathetic right now. I'm gonna hit button. Stick with that button. Go over here. Hit this button right here. Double click and hit pause and silence so there's no confusion. Make this bigger. Make this much bigger. That's what she said. Okay, let's see here. Control 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So we're scrolling down in the description area below the video. And because clearly I love the sound of my own typing. And under the heading of vegan education, second to the bottom, it reads, find a plant-based physician, and followed by a link to PCRM. This is a free service. They will help you find a doctor. And in this age of medicine over Zoom or something like that, you can find a psychiatrist anywhere in the world whose expertise and schedule is most compatible with yours. So that's very exciting. So this solves the mystery. But you might ask, what if I've got that all sewn up and I still want to master meditation on the quick? Well, I gotta push the right button, so I think I'm going to push button number, now button is the tab. There we go. That should do it. Now I'm going to do something which may be contrary to the Geneva Convention. I'm going to subject you to Jumbo Face. Dun dun dun. Okay, so here's the quickest way to master meditation. You don't want to treat meditation like studying or like working out. The neurological complexities of meditation must be respected. There are two types of people who work out. Those who work out because they want to be a certain size and have a certain appearance, or those who don't care about appearance, but they want their health to be strong and their endurance to be profound. They want their joints and the connective tissues to have great endurance, wonderful longevity, and they want to have great resilient, functional health for the long term. Amongst people for whom that is the greatest priority, they are in favor of one set of each exercise every day. The emphasis there is not on some superhuman effort that it takes you multiple days to recover from, but on sustainability. And when we switch gears from working one body part out once or twice a week to working it out every day, it's a different neurological system we're plugging into. And so people who are into lifelong fitness, people who want to make sure their final 50 years are as healthy as their first 50 years, really value this. Having said that, I officially poo-poo your proposal to meditate for 15 minutes, take a break, and then meditate for 15 more minutes. That is not character assassination. I have the utmost of respect for you, but there is a more effective way. It's a gentle approach. So let's pretend your goal is to meditate for 1 hour every 12 hours and make that a lifestyle habit. In the county where I live, I've seen huge blocks of concrete lifted up feet in the air by tree roots very slowly over a long period of time. quite incrementally over a long period of time. But slow and steady can win the race. So even Alan Watts agreed that we must not push ourselves in meditation. It's not like working out. Well, yesterday I did it 15 minutes. Today I'll do it 16 minutes. I'll just gut it out. That is a very efficient way of developing an aversion. So what we want to do is listen to another dead author, the guy who gave Joseph Campbell, and we want to follow our bliss. We want to take a hedonistic approach. Please plug into your inner Caligula. So this is how to do that. Start off with an arbitrary amount of time, maybe 5 minutes. So meditate with the utmost of enthusiasm for 5 minutes every 12 hours for 7 consecutive days. And then you're ready to bump it up to 10 minutes. So continue with the paradigm. Meditate for 10 minutes every 12 hours for 7 consecutive days. And there'll come a point during those 7 days where it's a challenge, then it's easy, then you'll feel yourself chomping at the bit for the next one. That's great. I like to call that divine impatience. And then it's a wonderful energy. But persist. When you finally pass the 7-day mark, the next 7-day mark, you can bump it up again. So if every 7 days you bump up the duration of your meditation by 5 additional minutes per session, then within 15 to 20 weeks, you can comfortably and pleasurably meditate for an hour every 12 hours. You know, like 6 a.m., 6 p.m., 7 a.m., 7 p.m., 5 a.m., 6 p.m. You know, you don't want to be too rigid about it, but you get the basic idea. So now it's time for a selfless plug. If you found me in the great expanse that is YouTube, Mazel tov, congratulations. And I guess for this I should hit this button here. Every 12 hours, I take us back. Every day I live stream 4 meditation classes without any ads, health permitting. If you find benefit from my instructions and techniques and practice and enthusiasm to answer questions that are typed for me, then I would remind you that with your assistance, this channel could help to support the next generation of nuns, monks, yogis, lamas, and even brick and mortar meditation centers. Oh, I guess that's it. Each replete with a resident teacher and their apprentice. If this speaks to you, great. You're welcome to help out, even for as little as the cost of 1 cup of coffee a month. Just you take your smartphone's camera and use it to capture this QR code. Unless you're old school, then you can just click one of the donation links in the description area below the video. Now that we've got the housekeeping out of the way, here's the deal. I'm here on YouTube on a good day, health permitting, 4 times a day. It's very easy to catch a live stream for me. If not, well, it's better than nothing is to catch a pre-recorded live stream or previously recorded live stream. There's close to 1,000 of them on my channel by now. Each more amateurish than the next. So this can really help your spiritual progress. Not having to reinvent the wheel can really help. And when you have specific mental health crises, you have specific questions, to have someone at the other end of the line who, you know, when you're on a live class, who can respond with specific techniques in real time, that can really help. So whether you're participating in my live streams for 5 minutes twice a day or for 90 minutes twice a day, if I do a lot of chitter chatter. You can do that by progressing 5 minutes a week. Because you don't want to push yourself. You don't want to force yourself. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon. So in conclusion, I am sorry that you're going through a mental health crisis. For what it's worth, I'm happy to support you any way I can with my skill set. And the good news is, with the proper strategy and techniques, this can be a wonderful turning point for you. Having concluded all that rigmarole, now let's practice. I think today would be fun to play with the latest iteration of secular tantra. That was heavy on my heart this morning. So, by the way, the body and the mind affect each other profoundly. If you've experienced any form of sleep deprivation, nothing's going to work well. Food's not going to be delicious. Sex is not going to be wonderful. TV shows are not going to be as good. Meditation's not going to be as good. So do what you can to really make sure you get your lifestyle choices in a row. Good night's sleep, fresh air, sunshine, exercise, all these things will really support your meditation practice. If you've just joined, welcome to this morning's live stream. When you have a question about Buddhist contemplation, meditation, or philosophy, type your question in great detail in the chat window. We're going to begin with preliminary practices, which are known by many names, including right view, the first fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. Consider, if you will, this piece of tantric art. You see two Buddhas sporting in tantric union. In Sanskrit, this could be described as Samantabhadra Karma Mundara. In Tibetan, this could be described as Kuntu Zangpo Yabiyam. In English, this could be described as All Good One Mother and Father. The iconography of this yadam, or archetype of enlightenment, functions merely to organize the 8 figures of speech necessary for deeply transformative contemplation. For instance, the nudity depicted in this tantric art reminds us of mindfulness's vulnerability. Their bodies being comprised of light, or depicted as being comprised of light, remind us of non-graspability. Their beauty reminds us of love. The stability with which he sits reminds us of centeredness. And the abandon with which she sports reminds us of spontaneity. Now let us turn our attention to the first of 3 sets of contemplations. This is wisdom's dance of impermanence and interdependence. Here's the mechanics. As we breathe in, we will silently and mentally recite the first 3 syllables of this rhetorical question. As we breathe out and relax, we will silently and mentally recite the second 3 syllables of this rhetorical question. By definition, the power of a rhetorical question does not come from our efforts to answer the question. It comes from merely silently and mentally reciting the question in harmony with our inhalation and our exhalation and our relaxation. We're going to use the verb melt as a metaphor of impermanence, for its contemplation could help us to leapfrog over our clinging tendencies. We're going to use this inference of absorption as a metaphor of interdependence, one thing affecting another thing, to help us, for its contemplation could help us to leapfrog over our competitive tendencies. The 2 obstacles to wisdom are competitiveness and clinging. So let's begin by working with our circumstances. What could it look like if all circumstances, including our own, blissfully melted into, is it over here? Yes, rainbow light that now absorbed into our body? Sit nice and tall and breathe from the diaphragm. What could it feel like if all bodies of all beings, including ours, blissfully melted into rainbow light that now absorbed into our experience of the interpersonal? You might ask, why do I use a synonym for communication in reference to the interpersonal? Because our experience of the interpersonal is sculpted by communication, both verbal and nonverbal. What could it sound like of each being, of each world, including ourselves, experience of the interpersonal, now blissfully melted into rainbow light that now absorbed into our mind? What could it be like if each mind, if each being, including ours, blissfully melted into rainbow light that now absorbed into a vast empty expanse? Now that we've explored impermanence and interdependence, we can turn to this morning's first of two meditations, awareness and letting go. This is known by many names, including Great Completion Stage Tantra. With each inhalation, we can notice the play of mind. As we silently and mentally recite, notice this. With each exhalation, we could relax into mind's non-graspable nature. With each silent and mental recitation of relaxing. On the bottom right-hand corner, you'll read, first collection of 12 sets of 16 rounds. So you might reasonably ask, how could that work? What if a round is simply one inhalation followed by one exhalation? Now that we know what a round is, how can we easily count or keep track of 16 of them? On your left hand, you can advance your thumb during every inhalation. First inhalation, second inhalation, third inhalation, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th. Now, what if you wanted to count 12 of those? Well, you might have counted 4 sets of 16 already on your right. You might have already used your right little finger to count your first set of 16 contemplations, then your second set of 16 contemplations, then your third set of 16 contemplations, and then your fourth during our opening set of contemplations. So now you can count on your right ring finger your first set of 16 rounds of meditation. Second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. This could seem clunky and ungainly. Play with it twice a day for about a week or so, and then it'll feel like old hat. There's all kinds of mythology that has grown up around Mahamudra and Dzogchen that do more harm than good. We're not plugging into some sort of a pre-existent state of enlightenment that we don't know of. That's just silly. Buddha nature, what if Buddha nature was just a metaphor for the three parts of our brain which are available, which work within in every healthy mammal? Our sympathetic nervous system, our parasympathetic nervous system, and our anterior cingulate gyrus, which together help us to practice awareness and release and empathy. So these are already part of our central nervous system. We meditate not to create them, but to become more familiar with them. Kind of like a kid. A kid may be able-bodied, but incredibly uncoordinated and incredibly weak. If a child is fortunate enough to have a very healthy upbringing, they will learn to use both their body and their mind in ways of greater skill and greater endurance, so that as young adults and then as adults, both their mind and their bodies serve them well. That's what we're doing in meditation. We're just increasing our coordination and our skill and our endurance to use the parts of the brain that are already there in the most therapeutic way. Some people mystify very down-to-earth teachings because they're just lazy-minded. They heard someone else do it, and so they just do monkey see, monkey do. Way back in the 90s, there was a wonderful commercial with that, where they had an animated monkey, or maybe it was a puppet of a monkey, say, monkey see, monkey do. Who is the monkey now? Which I thought was just very funny. Of course, it wasn't. They did it with a French accent, but I don't know how to do a French accent. Sorry, but it was very funny. So they just learned it monkey see, monkey do, and we call that lazy-mindedness. Now, some people are malicious, and they will deliberately overwhelm or intimidate others through cryptic language to make themselves feel more important and to look more important and more special than they really are, which is really dark, but it is not uncommon in the history of humanity for some people to make a job out of making themselves feel good by making others feel bad. Anyone who's survived junior high has seen that in real time. But remember, this exercise is simple. Notice this as you breathe in, relaxing as you're breathing out. You're just coordinating your will with your the various functions of your central nervous system. quick reminder, due to natural evolution, every time we breathe in, we automatically access the sympathetic nervous system ensconced within the thoracic region of our spinal cord. This evolved for survival. This evolved for perceptual acuity, so that our ancestors upon the plains of the Serengeti could notice, could make use of their perceptual acuity and notice sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like, and to do so vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. Concentration would have gotten our ancestors killed, because concentration, we focus on one thing, you're oblivious to everything else. That might work really good if you are a predator, but if you are not the apex predator and there are beasties faster and stronger than you, beasties sharp of claw and long of fang and empty of belly, who want to remedy that with your bits and pieces, then concentration would have killed our ancestors. Our ancestors' only hope of survival was diffuse awareness, not sharp concentration, but diffuse awareness. That awareness not only encompasses the senses, but it encompasses our emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. So as we sit here all dignified and silent-like, there could very well be a metaphoric three-ring circus occurring in our heart, and that is not a spiritual failure. Remember, the only label we need use when noticing is simply the pronoun this. As we breathe in and label whatever we're experiencing this, whether it is external or internal, physical or mental, pleasurable or painful, interesting or boring, convenient or inconvenient, glorious or grotesque, whatever we're experiencing, congratulations, its label is this. But wait, there's more. We also evolved in such a manner so that during each exhalation, we would automatically access our parasympathetic nervous system, located partly in our lumbar spinal cord and partly in the very tippy top of our cervical spinal cord. This is wired for physical relaxation and mental release. So whatever we notice during our in-breath, we can release at least to a certain degree during our out-breath. Now, releasing doesn't mean we're shoving it away. Who can forget the Monty Python movie, Monty Python and the Holy Grail? Who can forget the sequence with the holy grenade of Antioch? Just because you call something holy doesn't mean it's not destructive. Man, it's a grenade. Similarly, just because we call something release, if we're shoving and kicking at it, that's not peace. We are already experts at living in resistance to the present moment, living in resistance to the absence of things we crave, living in resistance to the presence of things we hate, and it doesn't give us peace. Look at Donald Trump, who arguably has everything he can imagine, or virtually everything, physical thing he can imagine, at his fingertips. That fellow is not peaceful. So, the peace we seek comes not from everything just so, although there's nothing wrong with that. It comes from making peace with the present moment in all its glory and grotesquerie. We do that by seizing upon the opportunity afforded us by every exhalation to physically relax the way we are wired to. So noticing and relaxing, ironically, is the effortless path of enlightenment. Remember, it's most sustainable to sit up tall during each in-breath while breathing from your diaphragm. Why is there so much confusion in the schools of Dzogchen and Mahamudra? Because there are two paths we can walk on. We can walk on the path of being flexible and loving and laid back and egalitarian and cooperative and kind, which is pretty cool. Or we can be dragged along the path of being rigid and fearful and controlling and elitist and competitive and cruel. And you can't even say that without hearing the Imperial March in the back of your head. So when people who are stuck in rigidity hear a metaphor, they interpret it literally, and that's what causes the majority of confusion in various spiritual systems. Whereas people who have trained themselves to recapture their flexibility can see that not all statements are literal. Ask an anthropologist, ask an evolutionary biologist. They will tell you that vertebrate life form on this planet evolved to think symbolically. Literal thinking is something very, very new and very ungainly. Godab Dorje, the founder of Dzogchen in Tibet, and Saraha, the founder of Mahamudra in India, basically relied on just this exercise. This is whatever we're feeling. So if we are feeling a heart-rending sorrow over the absence of a loved one, that's our this. We just dive deeply into that as we breathe in and relax as we breathe out. Sometimes, and you've probably heard this before, the only way to get over something is to go through it. Not to lie to ourselves about what we feel, not to tell ourselves we shouldn't feel what we feel. Listen, we evolved to feel the full spectrum of human emotions. They evolved to help us to survive. Why do mammals feel the loss of their companions so acutely? Because in a very real sense, our survival depends upon our loved ones, upon our fellows, our associates, professionally, personally, platonically, and intimately. Our genes are cruel. They want the propitiation of the species at all cost. And if they have to manipulate us and pull at our heartstrings to do it, that's what they do. So our emotions are just our way of our genes communicating with us to ensure the survival of the species. Does that minimize the nightmare of loneliness? No. But it reminds you that there's not one facet of our emotional spectrum that is an error or a flaw or a sign of weakness. You show me someone who doesn't feel the full spectrum of emotions, and I'll show you a ticking time bomb. Our friend, if you're a fan of sci-fi and cyberpunk, William Gibson did an excellent job of illustrating this in his novel Necromancer. I think, no, it's not Necromancer. It's Technomancer. Sorry, I'm reaching back for a title of a book I read back in the 90s, quite a long time ago. Neuromancer? Yeah, Neuromancer. Neuro, Neuromancer. So we're going to shift gears now to our second preliminary practice, or exercise of right view. We're going to explore wisdom's dance of the two truths, which sounds very mystical. So let us consider a different rhetorical question. How is it that as we inhale, our circumstances could seem to appear to us quite vividly, and yet, when we relax into our exhalation, these exact same circumstances could feel as if they were as non-graspable as a Buddha's real or imagined paradise or Pure Land or Vati, comprised only of light? So the two truths are the truth of perception as we breathe in, and the truth of releasing and voluntarily releasing and relaxing as we breathe out. Or in other words, mindfulness and meditation. How is it that as we breathe in, our bodies could feel downright sensual, and yet as we relax, these exact same bodies could feel as non-graspable as an enlightened archetype, or as an archetype of enlightenment, or yadam, comprised only of light? As we breathe in, how is it that our experience of the interpersonal could sound rather resounding? And yet, as we relax into our exhalation, this exact same experience of the interpersonal could feel as if it was as non-graspable as a mantra comprised only of light. How is it that as we breathe in, our mind's functions could seem rather clear, and yet, or I said, could appear to us in a rather clearly. Let's try this again. As we breathe in, we could perceive mind's functions rather clearly, and yet, as we relax into our exhalation, the same functions of our mind could begin to feel as if they were as non-graspable as a one-syllable mantra comprised only of light. Having completed our second set of contemplations, we come to our second meditation, known as bliss and letting go, as well as a series of other synonyms, including completion stage tantra. As we breathe in, we can give ourselves permission to feel the play of sensations. Simply by silently and mentally reciting, feeling this. During each exhalation, we can relax into feelings non-graspable nature by silently and mentally, as we silently and mentally recite, relaxing. We might feel something very, very subtle or very, very coarse. You may feel your tush being uncomfortable on the cushion. You may feel something pleasurable or painful or interesting or boring or convenient or inconvenient or glorious or grotesque. Our final contemplation this morning is going to be that of love and letting go, which is known by many names, including generation or creation stage Tantra. As we breathe in, we can silently and mentally recite the first 3 syllables of the contemplation, and as we breathe out, we can silently and mentally recite the final three syllables of the contemplation. Doing so, we can lovingly wish that all minds of all beings now receive the wisdom of a Buddha's mind, symbolized by a 1-syllable mantra. Let us lovingly wish that each experience of the interpersonal for each being now be as loving as a Buddha's communication symbolized by mantra. Let us lovingly wish that all bodies of all beings now be as healthy as an enlightened as an archetype of enlightenment or Iadam. Let us lovingly wish that all circumstances of all beings now be as fortunate as a Buddha's real or imagined paradise or pure land or vati of lore. If you feel I have earned it, type something in the chat window, give this live stream a thumbs up, and share it on social media. In approximately 2¼ hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's mid-morning meditation. If you are as geeky as me, this is the way.